Hello, guys. Welcome to another exciting and fresh episode on the show. You guys know I always bring the best of guests to my show. And once again, we have a very special guest today. Today's guest is Nita Sweeney. Nita, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
All right, Nita, I would like you to introduce yourself to my audience.
Well, hello everyone. I'm an award-winning author of 5 books, and my best-known book is called Depression Hates a Moving Target. But I'm also a coach and a mindfulness teacher, and a wife and a dog mom and a runner and a lot of other things. It's lovely to be here. I'm not hearing any audio.
All right, Nita, thank you so much. So let's get into the questions I have here for you. All right, so at 49, you described yourself as a coach, as a couch potato. What inspired you to start running?
Well, I was in a pretty dark place and I had tried a lot of different things. And I was scrolling social media, not thinking there was going to be an answer on Facebook. But I saw a post from a friend of mine who's the same age as me. At that time, we were both pretty large people, and someone I knew was not athletic at all. And she posted a picture of herself, and she said, "Call me crazy, but this running is getting to be fun." And let me tell you, the words run and fun did not fit together in like the same universe for me. And so I got curious. I got curious because I identified with her. And long story short, it's, the whole thing's in the book, Depression Hates a Moving Target. I eventually looked up the plan that she was following, and it said 60 seconds of jogging. And I swear if it had said a minute or anything longer than 60 seconds, I probably would have just, gone back to the box of bonbons that was probably sitting next to me on the couch. But it said 60 seconds. And so eventually, kind of when spring rolled around, because I live in central Ohio and we get these really hard winters where it snows and it's really, really cold. And, the crocuses came up and the snowbells came up. And I remembered, oh, wait, she's doing that plan. I wonder what that is. And so I eventually leashed up my dog because I needed a decoy and went down into a hidden ravine in my neighborhood. And I had a little kitchen timer, a little digital kitchen timer, and jogged for 60 seconds. And now the plan has more than that. But there was something about that very doable, very small increment that seemed possible. And I was, like I said, I was very depressed. And so it was something I know now is a real trick. And I probably had known it before was a trick, was to, start very, very small, set a goal that you can't fail, something you can't not do. And yeah, and that's how I started. And took me a long time to get out of the ravine because I was afraid people would laugh at me, but I eventually did. And that's, like I said, that's all in the book.
All right, so what is the single most important mental health tip you can share with our listeners today?
I would say don't think you've already tried everything, because I thought I had. And also, the tiniest little shifts make a huge change. So that's probably the biggest thing, is that it's often the change you need is not to move across the country or, leave your marriage, or it might be get a different job. I don't know. But it's often just go to bed 15 minutes early, drink more water, walk around the block. It's often these tiny little things that when you're depressed, those things can seem big, but they're actually really small. And so yeah, don't overlook the tiny shifts that add up over time.
All right, so why did it take so many years to publish your first book?
Oh, ouch. Because I couldn't get one published and I couldn't get one written. The truth is that I didn't have the focus or stamina, or clear ideas that are necessary to get a book published, especially from a traditional publisher, which was my first 3 books were with a traditional publisher. And it was actually only after I started running and built up a lot of stamina and then implemented meditation into the running. So I was also, getting kind of double duty of calm and concentration, that I could finish a book and that I was able to get a real clear idea of a book that I could write, because I kept trying a bunch of different books and I pitched one, which eventually did get published. But I just, I just kept getting derailed, and it's really hard. And I have chronic depression. I probably always will. I have a lot of anxiety, and I'm bipolar too. So those are some pretty good sized challenges. But even with that, I think it was just the inability to concentrate and the inability to push through. Because there are times when you're publishing, especially during the writing process, or rather during the revision process, where you just have to push through. You just want to be done, and you're not. There's a saying actually in running about, you're at mile 22 and you really want this race to be over, but you need to get back to your car. So you have to finish the rest of the marathon, which a marathon, it's 26.2 miles. So you got to finish the rest of it. And I didn't have that. I didn't have that power. I tried. I took classes. I wrote. I did all the things that seemed like one should be able to do. And then I had a product I thought would sell, and it didn't. And the rejections I just was drowning in the self, recrimination, the inner critic from the rejections. And that kept me stuck, because I would just say, oh, I can't do it. And I would just completely abandon a project. And so it wasn't until that kind of combination of, I always think it's like three things had to happen. It had to be the right book at the right time with the right publisher. And I think I got all those. With Depression Hates a Moving Target, I got those three things at the same time. So there's always, there's hard work, there's intelligence or craft, the ability to, skill, but there's also luck and timing. And I'm not the first one to say that.
All right, thank you so much, Nita, for that wonderful answer. So, how has running transformed your mental health and overall well-being?
Well, the things I mentioned about writing apply to the rest of my life. And so that focus and stamina lets me do a lot of things that I couldn't do before. A good example is we like to go to American football games, not what we call soccer, football, not football, but and there's a particular stadium we go to here in Ohio. I'm an Ohio State University Buckeye fan, and it's a long walk, and there's a lot of stairs, and we're in the hot sun, and it's a long day, and I couldn't make it through the whole day. I couldn't, I would just take forever to get there. It was exhausting. It was not a pleasant experience. And I noticed within really just a few months, maybe 3 or 4 months after I started running, that, we went to a football game, and I just walked there and walked up the stairs, and it was no big deal. And that was a shock to me, because I didn't expect it to sort of transfer into everything. And then mood wise, and so how that impacts my mental health is I was able to start doing things that I would have said no to before. I would have, just not tried. I would have disqualified myself because I would think I wasn't fit enough to do them. And I'm not, I'm watching a football game is not necessarily an athletic event, but that was a big deal to me. It was something that I really enjoyed doing. And I had basically said, we, can't go anymore. And now we can go. And, and I think in terms of emotional regulation, I know that the way I felt before I started running, and, I still have days. Running didn't cure everything, but it's so much better. It almost felt like there was lead in my veins sometimes. I was just, I was physically heavier, but it wasn't that. It was the emotions were just so heavy. And running lifts that. Over time, I just started to feel happier and calmer. And I don't know, like life was really worth living, because I don't want to confuse people that I still take mental health medication. I still see a therapist, but this was a piece that was missing that I didn't realize was missing. And so that just that little extra bit of energy and that the mood lift actually has been huge. It allowed me to participate in life in a way that I hadn't because I was able to really pay attention and feel more joy for other people too, not just myself, but for other people to have a sense of camaraderie. The only camaraderie I really had was with other people who were very depressed, and that's not much camaraderie. And the fellowship I found in the running group and the ability to just connect with other people in a better way. It just, there's just like so many different ways that it changed things for the positive.
Thank you so much, Anita. So, what would you say to someone who hates running or writing, meditation, or even dogs?
Who hates them? Oh my gosh. Well, maybe they haven't met the right dog. And some people have fears. I get that. Dogs they can be very unpredictable creatures at times. So yeah, I mean, you do you. Maybe you're a cat person. I mean, I'm kind of just an animal person in general. But yeah, I don't know a lot of people who hate dogs. Most people who hate dogs they've either been conditioned to be afraid of dogs due to cultural situations or, bad experience, or could be family modeling. One of their parents might be afraid. So yeah, give the puppy a chance, because boy, talk about the unconditional love. And it's kind of that true with that same principle sort of applies to all the other things you mentioned too, that often we have misconceptions about it. I know I did. I thought running meant sprinting. And when I was younger, if I said I ran, which I really did, it was sprinting. I was running as hard as I could, as fast as I could. And that's exhausting and absolutely not fun at all. And so for running, I think slowing down for most people is the key, especially at the beginning. And then finding a reason. I mean, if you really do want to try running, often at like a charity 5K, so a race that supports a particular cause that's near to your heart, find one of those a few months out, 3 months, 6 months out, and train toward that. So you kind of let that race pull you toward it. You let the goal pull you toward it. That's helpful for some people. Some people need to put money on the line, so they sign up for the race and pay for it, or they make a bet with a friend and they're going to lose $10 if they don't run the race or something like that. So I think finding, really true with anything, but finding what motivates you and then giving it a chance. Because there's some days I still hate running. There's some days I think, why am I doing this? But overall, the majority of the days, if I go out, I just feel better. I feel better about my body, about my mind. My mind feels lighter. I feel better about myself, and I'm achieving a goal that I set. Which that was the thing when I was depressed, is I would set these goals and I just couldn't meet them. I couldn't follow through. And then with meditation, often that's another place people have a lot of misconceptions. There are a million types of meditation. The type of meditation that I do is called mindfulness practice, and it's about being present for what's happening in the moment. So you bring your head, your thoughts to what is happening now. And usually it's body sensations, it's thoughts and body sensations. So right now I'm sitting in a chair. I can feel my feet in my shoes. I can feel my hands on the arms of the chair. That's what's happening right now, is I'm just sitting here talking to you. Emotionally, I'm enjoying our conversation and hoping the listeners are. And so there's a little bit of pleasant feeling in my abdomen and maybe my throat from that. And that's mindfulness. And you can do it anywhere. You can do it anywhere, anytime. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to go to you can go to a retreat, and I do go to retreats, and they're very, very helpful. But you don't have to do any of that. Practice can be as simple or as complicated as you want it to be. And I think that's a misconception, is that it has to be some specific way. The other thing that's a big misconception about meditation is that you are supposed to still your mind, stop your thoughts. And people say, oh my gosh, my mind is so busy, there's no way I can stop it. And that's not what you do. We create conditions that allow the mind to calm down on its own. to allow the thoughts to slow on their own. We're just creating an environment to help that happen. And over time, it's a bit like a muscle. It will calm and still on its own, but only if you give it the opportunity. And sometimes our thoughts are, it's not that they're scary, but there's just so many of them that can be very overwhelming. And we're not used to being alone with our thoughts that much. We distract ourselves. We're a huge culture of distraction, especially here in the United States. It's just insane how people need to be distracted every minute of the day. And so, meditation pulls you away from that. You have to kind of undistract yourself to be able to meditate. And that has some physical discomfort with it sometimes. That feels unusual and feels scary. And so I suggest people start very small, just 5 minutes. Just, you can focus on your breath. And if your breath makes you anxious, then focus on your hands and feet. Focus on, how your feet feel in your shoes, how your hands feel, if you're on your thighs or on your chair, folded in your lap. Just notice your hands. What do your hands feel like? Because most of us don't pay attention to any of that. And over time, you can try different techniques, but that's the place to start. And like I said, usually people think they hate meditation because they have ideas as to what it has to be. And then they think they're failing at it. There's a lot of people that really judge themselves and they think it's stupid, a waste of time. And it's not, but it doesn't look like the productivity that gets all the gold stars. It doesn't look like, the things that get you the pay raise and the diploma. Now, in the end, the focus and calm and concentration, the improved mood, all the things that the benefits that come with meditation can lead to a pay raise and better relationships and gold stars and things like that. But it's a long process. It's not a quick fix. And for writing, I think all those same things. And I just think people have so many, like we put ourselves in boxes or we put writing in a box and we think, it has to be this way. Or, it's no use doing unless I'm going to publish or I'm going to do, something spectacular with it. It's a waste of time. And the truth is it's an excellent way to process emotions or to figure out solutions, to investigate with curiosity what you really think and feel about a particular thing. Through writing, especially writing practice, like timed writing, you can find out all kinds of things that you didn't even know you thought and know you felt. And it's a way to kind of dive deep into yourself. And again, some people don't want to do that. It may feel like a waste of time, or some people it's scary. It's too dark stuff might come up, stuff from the past that you've packed away, and that happens sometimes. Sometimes I teach classes where we do writing practice and then we read aloud with no comment, completely no judgment, no comment. And people will write about the simplest thing, mashed potatoes or their first car. And then they start reading and they start crying and I don't even know why I'm crying. But we've dropped beyond the discursive thought. We've dropped beyond commenting about a thing into actually experiencing the thing. And that can be very moving. And sometimes those deep emotions can scare people. But yeah, I always encourage people to do those things. That's like my tripod is writing, running, and meditation. And then I don't know where the dog fits in, but there's like dogs in all of it. So yeah, we've always had dogs. So get the puppy, or at least just, meet a puppy and let it snuggle you.
All right, Nita. So here is my final question for you. Do you meditate while you run? And if so, how does that practice work?
Could you ask me that again, please? I didn't understand the question, or I didn't hear the question, rather.
I said, do you meditate while you run? And if so, how does that practice work?
So that was something that I guess caught me kind of by surprise. But yes, I do meditate while I run. And I had been meditating long enough to know that there were really no limits on when or where you could meditate. And so one day I was on a run and I realized, I could just pick an object of meditation and use that as my practice while I'm running. And so one of the most common things I do is I choose the color green. We live in central Ohio, as I said. It's very green here, about 3/4 of the year. It's very green. And I will choose a particular time period or a distance. So let's say quarter of a mile or 5 minutes, something like that. And just for that period of time, a very structured period of time, I will notice all the different shades of green and all the different shapes of green things, which are usually leaves, shrubbery, entire trees, just the way green comes. Like I'm actually looking out a window right now, and there are probably 25 different shades of green just where I'm looking at, and all across the spectrum here. And I'm in a suburban area, but very green. But it's not just green, solid green. It's texture and color and then, invariably my mind will wander and I'll think, oh yeah, I got to remember I'm on this podcast soon. What are we going to talk about? And do I need to do anything before then? And then I remember, oh wait, no, you've selected this period of time to meditate. Let's go back to that. And very gently, very, very, very gently, that's key, I will bring my attention back to the color green and the shapes of the leaves and the way that branch is moving. And oh, there's a little lighter color over there. And, just being totally in the moment. But that gentle returning, that remembering that I have chosen to meditate and a very gentle returning those are the two things that actually train the mind. So the object of meditation is only important in terms of whether it's accessible. So you have to be able to, experience it. Otherwise, it's kind of irrelevant. What's important is the remembering, oh yes, I'm meditating, and gently bring yourself back again and again and again. And so that's how I do it. And then when that 5 minutes is up, I'm done. And sometimes, I do longer periods of time. But that's my technique for meditating while I run. As soon as I use my body sensations, so I have a thing in my ankle, which I'm not totally sure why it is. I think it's because I have a congenital defect in my ankle. And so I have a lot of sensations in my ankle. And so sometimes I'll use that if it's especially kind of talking to me. And it will be very distracting to try to pay attention to anything else but that. Then I will, I will use that as my object of meditation. But again, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that when I forget, I bring myself back. I remember and bring myself back again and again and again. It's actually really, really simple. And again, this is mindfulness practice. This is the type of meditation I do. And there's a lot more to it than that. There's a lot more, depth and richness to it than just that. But that's the basic technique. That really is the basic technique, the way that that we do it. And that's how so once I figured that out on running, then there's very little boredom for me on a run, because I can always, choose an object of meditation. And like one time during Halloween here in Ohio, people like to put pumpkins out, which probably is a thing there too. And I've counted pumpkins. So, I was running through my neighborhood that day and I counted the pumpkins on people's porches. And, if I'd lose track, I would just start over at one. And that was pretty fun, actually. I saw every kind of decorated pumpkin and plain pumpkin and carved pumpkin and, pumpkin inflatables. I mean, people had so many pumpkin things, and that was kind of fun. So yeah, you can do it. Make it your own. That's the big thing with meditation. Make it your own.
Thank you so much, Nita. Today's conversation reminds us that it's never too late to change the direction of our lives, whether through movement, mindfulness, or simply taking one small step forward. Nita Sweeney shows us that healing is possible and that hope is always within reach. So, Nita, before you go, if my audience and listeners want to connect with you and learn more about your work and get your book as well, how can they do that?
Well, the best way is to go to my website, which is nitasweeney.com. So it's just my name, nitasweeney.com. And all 5 of my books are available there. They're also available, any place that you would want to buy them. You can ask a store, to order it. They have it. they can order it if they don't have it. But yeah, I would love to hear from people. I have a newsletter and I have some freebies on my website. But yeah, that's my home base, is my website. So thanks for asking.
Thank you so much, Nita. Thank you for coming to my show. Thank you for providing your value to me and my audience.